I'm Chloe, and today I would like to take you through Chandra Namaskar. So I recently did a video on the new moon in Sagittarius, which looked at the specific energy of that new moon. Well, this new moon, because it's today that new moon is. The Chandra Namaskar is our moon salutation, however, and it can be used under any new moon and any full moon. So we might use it as a salutation, like a moon salutation, to greet in the new lunar cycle on a new moon. And on a full moon, we might use it to release and respect the closure of a moon cycle. I like to do it on both, and I might just sprinkle in, off of the framework of the Chandra Namaskar, some other poses that sort of fit the mood of that moon, like if it's an air sign moon, an earth sign moon, a fire sign moon, or whatever. I might just sprinkle in some poses that connect to that. Or if it's a full moon, I might put in more back bends and more heart openings as a more of a release type sequence. Anyway, let's get to it. We're going to do a little warm up first. We're just going to come down onto the mat. I invite you to take the fingers to the thumbs and splay the other fingers in your Gaya Mudra, and just take the hands to the knees, back to the hands to the knees. And just take some deep breaths. Maybe you'd like some blocks beneath your knees here or under the sit bones to raise those hips up a little bit higher if you feel like your knees are not comfortable in your seat. Find your place of comfort. You can also add any cushioning to support you. Arrive on your mat. Focusing on here and now. Leaving the day's distractions behind you. Inhaling, receiving breath and air flow. Exhaling. Sending out any tension, releasing any tension. Inhaling and exhaling. And when you're ready, we're just going to put our hands on the mat just behind our hips to support us. Take the feet a little bit wider on the hip distance and just allow the knees to sink down towards the mat, letting those hips open from side to side, knees wiping from side to side like a pair of windscreen wipers, just awakening those hip flexors. Lovely. Then when you're ready, extending one leg out and coming up onto the knee of the other leg. I'm just going to take the hands out in front of us. Can be on blocks here to raise that ground up a little. Foot is planted down towards the mat, and we can just sway backward and forwards, swinging the gait. You might want to bring the foot up onto the heel and sway back and forth. Doesn't matter if you're coming down as far to the mat as I am, where your body is comfortable to come to for you. Flexing the foot like this will put more of a increase in the stretch, I find. Lovely. And then raising the torso, making sure those hips are nicely stacked over that knee. Foot is planted again. It's going to inhale the arm up and take it overhead towards the extended leg. The other hand can just rest on the inner thigh, or maybe you can take it down to the mat. Find where you're comfortable and and stop where you feel the stretch. Lovely. Now we're just going to switch the arms over, so opening up the opposite side of the torso. Again, hand lightly rests on the opposite thigh this time. Take some breaths. Lovely. Windmill the hands back to the mat. Walk the fingers round to the short edge of the mat, leaving that extended leg out, so bringing those hips forward in line with the mat. And we're just going to rotate the ankle. You can also be up on your blocks here to bring that ground up. And just rotating the ankle, so you're up on the heel, making circles, drawing circles with those toes. Lovely. And when you're ready, you're going to put a bend into that knee, stacking it in line over the ankle, and we're going to circle the hips forward, down and round. Can again be up on blocks here, as we saw when we were rotating the ankles. Just allowing the hips to go back and forward, down and round and back again. So as you come forward, knee bends. As you go back, the leg straightens. Lovely. Maybe do some forward and back here as well, working into that hamstring. Lovely. And then walking the hands around to the front of the mat again, coming down onto the opposite knee, extending out the opposite leg, coming into that gate swing on the opposite side, remembering your options here. Just coming to where you feel that stretch in your body, where it feels comfortable. Only ever going to where it feels comfortable, where you can feel the stretch, but it's not a strain in your body. Yoga is designed to heal, not to be competitive with ourselves, to be kind to our body. Okay, and we're going to take that lateral side bend on the opposite side. Lovely, and when you're ready, we're just going to reverse it. Opening the other side of the body. Can maybe come down, bring the hand down to the mat. Make a bit of a bigger stretch here. Fabulous. Windmilling that hand down, walking the hands to the front of the mat as we did before, coming into that half split, half hammerman. Keeping the torso high, not folding over that leg. Remembering if you're on blocks here, and just rotating that ankle round. Waking that ankle up and gently awakening the hamstring. Lovely. Slide that foot until you are nicely stacked in your lunge, and then we're going to circle the hips. Remembering option for block here, just to create a little bit more space so you can be a bit higher up. Maybe you want to do some forward and backwards. Maybe still going down and around, seeing if you can connect your breath with any of these movements. Maybe as you inhale, you pull back. Exhale, coming forward or opposite way round. Find where you feel comfortable. Inhaling forward, exhaling back. Slide that foot into a kneeling position. Hands come to the mat, pushing the ground away in a bit of a tabletop. Knees are hip distance apart, and nicely stacked under the hips. We're going to inhale into our cow. Exhale into our cat, push the ground away. Inhale, spine dips. Exhale, spine rounds. Lovely. Flow with your breath here. Exhaling into cat, round rounded spine. Inhaling into cow, dip spine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Meeting back with neutral spine. And sending the hips over the ankles, over the feet, pushing those hips up towards the sky, grounding down through the palms. Soft bend in the knees can happen here to keep that spine nice and flat. Begin pedaling the legs. Neck is nice and relaxed here. Now Adho Mukha Tadasana. Pedaling, walking the feet, walking the dog, walking it forward. Option here to come onto your blocks in your first deep forward fold or soft bend in the knees. Let the head hang. Maybe you can touch the mat here. Lovely. When you're ready, rolling all the way up. Taking the feet a little bit wider. Hinging at the hips and bringing the hands back to the mat or your blocks. Making sure those feet are around the width of the mat apart. And then as we're going to bend the knees and send the bottom down to the ground as we bend the knees and raise up onto the balls of the feet. And then we're going to push the ground away, send the hips up and straighten those legs back out. Can have a soft bend here still. Doing these little frog squats. Trying to connect with the breath here. So as we fold, we exhale. As we squat, we inhale. Waking up those feet. Waking up those hips. Lovely. Maybe you could do this with a chair and support yourself on the back of the chair, coming up and down, just bending the knees like so. Fabulous. Wherever you are, rolling back up to standing, and then simply turning to face the long edge of the mat. Fabulous. And we're going to inhale, stand tall, nice and tall in our mountain, really engage the quads, make sure we're nicely rooted through the feet. So have a little wobble around to get grounded in, rooting down in your mountain. And when you're ready, exhaling the arms up. They can stay shoulders apart or they can come together overhead in your extended mountain. And we're just going to stretch those arms one way, coming into our standing half moon. Back to centre. Stretch over to the other side. Feeling that nice stretch of the side body. And back to centre. Lovely. Bringing those arms down. Stepping the feet about a leg and a half width apart and opening the arms out into our Uttiti Tadasana. All the toes are facing the long edge of the mat at this point. Turning them out and then allowing the hips to sink into our Ukkata Konasana. Arms can cross overhead in the goddess. You can also have your hands on the hips, keeping that tailbone nicely tucked in. Quads are strong. Don't know if you hear any little clicks in the hips. Okay. Face one set of toes towards the long edge of the mat, and the other toes are going to face towards the short edge of the mat. Opening the arms out, shifting the weight back, and we're going to reach forward like as if we're reaching for something off the shelf over there without turning our torso. You might want to come to a block here, but reaching and And as we reach, we start to tilt the torso. Maybe you come to a block here or some stacked books, feeling a nice stretch here. Chest is peeled open, arms up to the sky. Maybe you can come all the way down to the ground here, or the rest the palm on the back of the shin or the inner thigh. Find where you're comfortable in your Trikonasana. If you're really happy here, maybe you can gaze up at the hand. When you're ready, bringing the hands down to the mat, or this can be blocks, letting that back foot just rotate out a little. And we're going to keep our back straight for now, face looks down the mat in our pyramid. If you're really happy here, maybe you can bring the hands to the mat. And if you're really, really happy here and you feel warm enough in the hamstring, maybe you can fold forward over that knee. This might be a bit early for that in the practice. Letting that knee drop down to the mat, coming into Anjaneyasana, can push up on the blocks, making sure that knee is stacked nicely, being a nice stretch in the hip flexors. Hands can be on hips or option to raise the arms up to the sky, inviting in that lunar energy. Yes. Bring the hands down to the mat or your blocks. Now we're going to swivel the hips towards the long edge of the mat as we come onto the foot, like back into that extended, into that sort of swinging gait position that we did earlier. You can also be higher here and on blocks. So your blocks can be in the middle and you just come this low. If you're super comfortable here, maybe you can come lower, keeping that foot flat if possible. Maybe you can come point the toes up to the sky and balance on the heel here. Maybe hands can come to heart center, maybe they're on the ground. Find where you're comfortable. Now, bending the extended leg, coming into this sort of squat-like position and lowering the hips down. Seeing if you could maybe be on your blocks here and just doing those sort of frog squats again, bringing those hips down, pulsing. Or maybe you can come all the way down into a squat, into the yogi squat. Malasana, push, if you can, push your knees apart with the elbows and bring the hands to heart center. Ooh, can tell it's Mercury retrograde tomorrow. My tongue is twisting all over the place. And then extending that foot out, coming into that Skandasana on the opposite side, remembering your options here. Then swiveling those hips down towards the mat, stacking over that knee again, coming into that Anjaneyasana, that lunge, remembering your options here. I'm going to inhale the arms up, lovely. Exhaling them, hands back to the mat. Stepping up onto that back foot, having it slightly turned out, remembering your options, coming back into that pyramid. I'm going to exhale over, find where you're comfortable. Now turn that heel of the back foot out towards back, so that we're rotating and the toes go facing the long edge of the mat. And maybe you bring the hand inside the foot, rest it on the leg, on your block, and come into your Trikonasana, making sure you're wiping that chest open, rotating it open, hand points to the sky in your Trikonasana, soft bend in the knee, and power all the way up to standing. Swivel those toes back to face the long edge of the mat. Turn out the toes and then sink back down into that goddess. Lovely. Maybe do a few of these little goddesses, or maybe you just hold your goddess still. Maybe your hands are on the hips, maybe your hands are at heart center. play around. Lovely, then we're going to just step this foot back to the centre, toes are all pointing the leg edge of the mat, back into our mountain, extending the arms up overhead. And we're going to take those side bends again, one this way, one that way, lovely. Opening out into our Tadasana, turning the toes out. Just going to move those blocks so you can see my feet. Sink into that goddess again, powering up, coming into that Trikonasana, remembering to shift the weight back, then reach, remembering where you're coming to, remembering if you need any blocks here, back into that Trikonasana, windmill the arm down, maybe that, adjust that back foot a little so the hips are all in one line, coming into that pyramid, lovely. Drop that back knee down, stack that knee over the ankle, maybe scoot the arms up. Remember your options here in your Anjanasana. Rotate the hips, plant the foot, Skandasana. Remember if you're on blocks here, step it in, Malasana. Step that foot back out, Skandasana. Rotate the hips back, round, raising up into that Anjanasana, making sure that knee is stacked, lovely stretch through that front hip flexor. Bring the hands back down to the mat, step that back foot up and get that foot in line, maybe it's slightly turned out, coming into that pyramid, option to fold. Turn those toes towards the long edge more. Peel that chest open or rotate into your triangle, remembering to travel your blocks all the way around the mat with you if you are using them. Soft bend in the knee, power up into your Tadasana, turn those toes towards the long edge, rotate them out, sink into your goddess, power back up through those legs, fabulous. Step it over into your mountain, arms extend up, side bend in that standing half moon, bring the hands back to heart center, take a few breaths. So that was a full round of your Chandra Namaskar. Now you can go through that again and keep working through until you're really solid and secure in that Chandra Namaskar, or you can follow me into a bit of a cool down. So from this mountain, we're just going to step it out wide again, clasp the hands behind the back and hinge at the hips. We're going to hinge that torso, folding, 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 opening those shoulders out, taking some deep breaths, lovely. And then allow the hands to come down to the mat. Walk the feet, walk the hands around the short edge of the mat. Step that back foot forward to meet the front foot and lower down onto the sit bones. Give yourself, did you see my cat go through that? Give yourself a nice big hug. And then roll down or come down onto the forearms, just onto your back, rolling or by the forearms until you're all the way down. Lovely. Shift a little bit. Maybe you want to bring a block down here, ready for when we do a little twist later. Bend the knee, cross it over the opposite thigh, and just guide that hip open in your reclined pigeon. Lift the foot up off the mat, clasp behind the knee, behind the thigh, or maybe you're going from the front of the knee, drawing that hip towards you and that knee towards you. Arm comes through the little slot in the bent leg to reach. When you're ready, switching it over, ankle crosses over thigh, pushing that hip out. Lifting the other foot, hand slots through the gap in the bent leg, pull that hip down, tailbone and shoulders towards the mat, really flexing that back with that hip open. And all both feet come back down to the mat. Lovely. Make some space to open your arms out. Take the knees back to the chest and send the knees over. Coming into your reclined twist. Maybe you'd like a block under the knees here. Maybe you want to keep the gaze at the ceiling, or maybe you want to gaze down the arm. Switch it over, knees come down the opposite side, stretching that back, that side body open. Knees back to centre. And then just lifting the feet. Soles are facing the ceiling in that fountain of youth. Lovely. Take your peace fingers, wrap them around the big toes or grab the outer blades of the foot. Pull, keeping that tailbone down towards the mat and the shoulders, pulling those knees down towards the armpits, bending the knees, rocking from side to side in your happy baby. Bring those elbows inside the knees. Don't rock so far that you rock all the way over. And bring the feet down to the mat. Extend the legs straight. Extend the arms overhead. Have one big stretch. And bring the hands down to the mat. Palms face up. Give the toes a little wiggle. Taking some breaths. Grounding into your mat through your corpse pose. Fabulous, guys. What a wonderful practice. Come up now. You can stay where you are. But thank you for joining me in this Chandra Namaskar sequence. Hope you enjoy it, play around with it and see what poses you can bridge off of it. Or maybe you just stay learning the rhythm of that initial cycle around the mat of the Chandra Namaskar. Wherever you are, I hope you enjoy it and thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.